I remember Tycho Brahe. Like, really, he was all
about the speedo.
all about the speedo. Really,
In the 1540s?
and
Yeah.
and the silver nose.
and the super nose. That's what ladies, man.
That,
And do you know who could tell us about the silver nose?
what do they say?
No, Fred could tell us the story.
Fred.
Oh yeah, we should invite him on. Oh, by the way, this is a true story that may be true.
A true story that may be true. That's a good
By the way,
That's a
any
good segment.
listeners, we're on like our 6th to 10th beer right now.
Yes,
Yes.
So this is good times.
good times. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Prost.
All right.
Prost.
So what's the name of this segment? This is a true story that may be true.
A true story that may be true segment.
So, Tycho Brahe was a Danish noble,
Yes.
and what he was known for was basically doing observations of the heavens and basically mapping out how stars moved from one night to the other.
And his equipment, they said, rivaled the price of Hubble Space Telescope.
Yeah, so he was the Hubble
Really?
Space Telescope of the time, and his
Without lenses.
yeah. So I think this is pre-telescope or
Oh, no. This is pre-telescope. This is
naked eye
just,
observation.
Yeah.
But not naked everything, just naked eye.
Just naked eye.
naked eye.
Back in the day, there was a lot of nakedness.
Even naked eye does not sound good.
But so despite his family, he was from a noble family. Despite his family's like extreme urging that he go into something useful like law or business or just be a nobleman, just like come on, he decided to go into astronomy, and somehow convinced like the Danish monarch to give him some place to do his observing from. So the Danish monarch gave him an island that was like off of Denmark and also off of Sweden. And Denmark and Sweden used to argue about this island. Denmark said it belonged to Sweden. Sweden said it belonged to Denmark because it was like a crappy piece.
That's
of
awesome.
land. And so, but anyway, Tycho Brahe basically set up an observatory there and would observe how the stars moved and kept very good track of these things and so forth. Then, toward the end of his life, he actually moved to Prague in Czechoslovakia, or what is now,
Right.
was now, so I'm dating myself, now it's the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And he was sponsored by a nobleman there. And the way he died is the following. So they have like this castle up on the hill in Prague, and then they would have these like drinking fests. Like Prague is like awesome for beer. They have like the you go out and you'll see people doing what we're doing now, is like drinking beer in the afternoon, like every day. And so
Doug's advocating we do this podcast daily.
yes. And so they were having one of these drinking bouts up in the castle, and Brahe had his fill, and he needed to go relieve himself. But I actually was inconsiderate to like go relieve yourself before the king, or you had to ask permission of the king. Or this is the part of the story that's a little bit iffy, so Google it. But for some reason, he didn't want to ask the king to be excused to go relieve himself, and he didn't, and he kept holding it, and basically his bladder either burst or he developed like a severe bladder infection.
The story is a bladder infection. However, I've actually heard that some of this may not be true, and how he actually died
Of
was
course.
because actually I think they later on I don't know if they dug up the body or tested some things, but they found that his mercury levels in the body were just like out of control, and with using mercury,
Well, mercury back in the day was like,
for every
oh,
experiment.
you're sick, like drink a gallon of mercury or
Yeah.
whatever it was back then.
So
So it's that Dan is actually the actual
No.
astronomer, astrophysicist here. So is this true? So this is true. So
I've heard that story. I also heard that it was a made up story as well.
you heard the story about the bladder infection and that
Yes.
they did,
Yeah,
okay.
I think we've all heard about that one.
There's a story going around, and so it's not like it's completely idiotic to believe it. Although you should actually check your facts.
Because this was a story that was true, but
But could not. I don't.
But
I
could
don't
not
know.
be true.
Maybe couldn't be true.
Yeah, who knows?
But so they dug him up, and so they
I heard like something like they dug him up or had like a hair sample or did some testing on.
And it was mercury poisoning.
That's what the mercury levels were so high, but I mean that would be something that could be the cause of his death.
So maybe it wasn't what killed him. So he could have had high levels of mercury, but still died from
also
a bladder infection,
a urinary infection.
Yeah.
So anyway, the advice is don't wait to ask the king to go pee. Just go.
Just go.
And by the way, Dan or someone was advocating a hole at the back of this studio.
Yes,
I think that's a good idea.
A P/glory hole is really, I believe, what it was going to be called.
Yes.
Thank you for calling it a studio, by the way.
Okay.
This is a studio. It
is. Are we not making sound here?
We're making
for
sound.
recording.
Yes.
So that's good. Actually, we could do something like this. It could be like a sort of a listener like test, or like Google and do some research, see what you find out about. Yeah. How did Tycho Brahe die?
Or build a time machine, go back in time, and come back and report to us.
Yes,
that's
exactly
even better. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
The flux capacitor must be built at some point.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, Google or build a time machine, go back and see actually what did happen.
Right. Well, I think this is an important part about physicists. Like, people deem you as like a nerd to the extreme, but you're not a historian. Like,
right?
There's no history of physics class that you're like, hold on, I'm doing particle physics, doing like astronomy, doing cosmology. Oh, history of physics, must knock that one off.
Well, and that's another thing is like history is very important, but actually a lot of stuff that people like know about history is not true.
Right.
Right.
Oh, a lot.
It's not correct, or it's like been shaded by the passage of time and stuff like that. And history is very interesting, but actually that's why I decided to study physics, is because you can actually still test that stuff today and see, is it correct or is it not.
Well, also a lot of famous, like Archimedes, Eureka.
Right.
Right, that never happened. However...
Oh, well, so Dan, you should explain like what that story is about Archimedes and Eureka.
So, the basics of the story is when he came up with this principle, right? I don't even know, like, he was just in his bathtub, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So he's in his bathtub, and the whole Archimedes principle is, if you have a buoyant force holding up an object, the weight of the displaced fluid is equal to the buoyant force pushing up on the object. So I don't know what he was doing in his bathtub, was rubber ducky or whatever. So his rubber ducky actually floated,
Absolutely,
and he weighed his rubber
ducky.
ducky.
Yeah.
I think this is exactly actually
I'm
how
pretty
it goes.
sure this is at least 100.1% positive.
Yeah. Was rubber back? No.
They had rubber trees, right?
Okay.
You can only assume they had rubber duckies.
Exactly. So they had the resources to be able to do this. So he had his rubber ducky in the bathtub, and he wondered why his rubber ducky was floating. So what he did is he put the rubber ducky in the bathtub, but the bathtub was full all the way to the brim, right? And so water overflowed into a container that he kept by the side of his bathtub for no apparent reason. And when he measured the weight of the rubber ducky and measured the weight of the fluid, they were exactly equal.
But now the whole point was, you were saying this wasn't a correct story. This wasn't true, or you're saying
no. That part I just said was true.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's
okay. That's the part.
Yeah,
I've heard.
This
that's
happened.
fact.
Now
fact.
The part of the story afterwards is when he came up with this. He was so excited about this that he got out of the bathtub, started running down the street saying "Eureka, Eureka!" Right, and that's where the term "Eureka" came from. That part is in debate.
Right.
The rubber ducky part, absolutely.
Absolutely true.
Fact.
Fact.
Actually, there are a lot of stories about Archimedes, right?
Yeah.
You guys, the story about how he defended Syracuse from the Romans.
Oh,
right?
with the mirrors.
With the mirrors.
Yes.
With the mirrors. Mythbusters tested that.
Mythbusters did that, and
it was good.
Now, did they say yay or nay?
They said nay to that one.
Nay. Someone else redid that, and they said it could have been. So that someone other than the Mythbusters guys.
The problem is with that word.
What?
The could have. Like, it doesn't list a probability on it.
Right.
So I'd be very curious to see what.
And plus, I mean, the people that were making mirrors back in those days, I mean, they couldn't do it to the precision that we could do it today.
Right. I think they just use polished copper or something like that.
So what I heard is like the Roman fleet comes into to Syracuse harbor, and then basically what Archimedes had the soldiers do, they had polish their shields, and then basically reflect the sun down. So they're using the shields. So the thing is, like, I didn't see the Mythbusters episode where they did this, but like how many mirrors did they have?
They had a lot.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, like a whole lot. And the problem is, a Roman shield was curved inward, and that really diffuses the light that's going to be reflected back.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, you could turn the shield around, and
yeah, but still, I mean, it had a pretty decent curve to it. If we're talking a ship far away, I think the focal point would be much further, much closer than what the ship is.
I guess it would be like one of those segmented mirrors. I mean, each shield would be like part
right,
of
and
a mirror.
And that was the idea on Mythbusters, and they gave them, I think, almost perfectly flat shields. They segmented it out in like a half circle, and they put the ship in the middle.
Like how many mirrors did they have? Do you guys remember?
It was probably in the hundreds.
Really? Yeah.
733.
At least.
Dan is making that up.
Yeah.
Dan is making that up.
But Mythbusters did it pretty well, and I think they even went back and they redid it at a certain point.
Really?
Because it was important.
Huh. And so it didn't work.
It takes a lot. I mean, that's a big distance, right? But you have to be outside of arrow range.
Yeah.
And be very coordinated to make that happen. I would consider that very difficult to do.
Huh.
And then you're hitting one ship, and I mean, and then what? You all kind of turn at the same time to get to the next ship, and like, all right, like focus on that ship.
Yeah, that's what you'd have to do. So, I mean, you'd have to imagine like a fleet of these things coming in, and then basically, here's another thing. So I really want to believe this is true. Right? I really, so
because it would be cool if it was.
This is another true story that may be true.
Yeah, another true story that may be true.
But for some reason, I had the idea that like Roman ships had a lot of like pine tar on the wood and stuff like that, which then tends to be extra flammable. So did the Mythbuster guys have like pine tar on the masts?
I don't know, and I don't even know what the point of ignition is on that substance. I'd be very curious to see.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It's going to have sea spray on it and everything else. I mean, that's really. I think your best bet would be to go for the sails.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the sails would burn easier, and then.
Yeah, but then they're already where they want to be, so.
Yeah, that's really the hard part, right? I mean, you're coming in.
But wait, I don't know. Did the Roman ships have sails? Because I think that they were
the rowers,
like trireme.
Triremes, yeah. I think they were rowers, so I think that they wouldn't have sails to go.
They had to have some sails. I mean, they went all the way up to England and stuff with their ships, and they're like, I mean, you have a lot of slaves, but that's like.
Rowing. Okay.
When they got tired, you just throw them overboard.
So
yeah.
Actually, what we're proving here is physicists don't know jack about
yeah, that's pretty much it. Like,
but we could find out.
We could find out if we wanted. I think this is an important like caveat that people don't understand. Like when you ask the scientists a question, and if it's out of their realm, the first thing they do is start backing off.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, this is not my area of expertise. This is not something I'm used to. Like,
I just tell how it is because
Yeah.
I know. But
well, Dan does,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, because he's always right.
Dan has his PhD in everything, literally.
So
That's
But so again, since we're lazy, we could just ask the listeners like,
Yeah,
hey, tell us where we're wrong, and like But I did remember there was somebody other than the Mythbusters, because I think I remember the Mythbusters did this and busted the myth.
the
Couldn't
only
have
thing I
happened.
can say about Archimedes with pretty high confidence is he's dead.
Yes.
Yes.
Here. Cheers.
To a dead Archimedes.
But how did he die? And that is the other thing.
Oh, there's another myth about that.
We don't even know
Doug
how he
just hit his
died. Now,
mic.
the story is that he was drawing diagrams, right, into the sand.
Right.
And a soldier
The
came
Roman
up to,
soldier came in, yeah.
came up to him and told him to stop or something like that, or
Yep.
tried to arrest him because he wasn't where he's supposed to be, and killed him right there on the spot.
Oh no! So this is what I heard. So basically the same thing. So Archimedes is doing his calculations in the sand. Roman soldier comes up and says, "Hey, old guy, we're invading your city. Time to move on." And Archimedes just ignored the guy and kept And so the Roman soldier took his foot and erased the guy's equation. And Archimedes went insane, and this old guy is attacking this Roman soldier with a sword, and the Roman soldier's like, "Keep."
Yeah.
And stabs him.
Because that's what
And
every
this-
Roman soldier did.
Yeah, he's like, "Dude, come on, I told you, move
Now,
on."
now there was orders actually, and we know this from the histories. There was orders not to kill Archimedes.
Well, apparently it didn't get down to that.
It didn't get down to the soldier. I don't think they recognize him as Archimedes. He's probably just the old crazy guy.
Yeah.
I don't buy that story.
Don't buy the story?
I think that's a true story that may not be true.
A true story that may not be true.
Segment number 2.
But I mean, Archimedes still, like, the Archimedes screw is still used today. So
All over the place, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, they said...
Wait, the sexual position or the...
Both.
or the water-moving screw?
And actually, some even people, like, right, the invention of, like, calculus.
To Archimedes?
Right, because he was doing things with circles, right, with the area of a circle. So he broke up the circle into small triangles.
He did.
And that was kind of like, that's the basics of calculus, is breaking up something into its smallest parts and adding them up. And so...
Was that Archimedes like a Kepler where he believed in, like, perfect shapes?
Was that Archimedes? Like, the Euclideans...
Right, where
they were like sort of weird about math like that, like that.
Oh, like irrational numbers too, right?
Yeah. That basically, like the Euclideans, they were sort of like this mathematician cult, and they believed that like
we need more of those.
There was like some kind of order in the universe, and it's based on numbers, and if you understood numbers, like you could understand the universe better. Some kind of idea in those directions.
Yeah,
but
those guys were back in the day where they were some weird people. Like, you have to admit, like, as far as scientists goes, they were pretty weird. Like, Tycho Brahe, I think, is kind of the outlander on this one.
But yeah,
they're even weird today, though.
Well, yeah. But I think they have more fun today. Like, it's more accepted to be the scientist. Like, you can do that and enjoy life and still be... I mean, Galileo was, like, persecuted nonstop. Kepler was, like...
I think if
horrifically
you're
introverted
persecuted anyway. I mean, that's not going to bode well for your science.
Well, even scientists today are persecuted over their whatever they come up with. I mean, whether it's true or not, I just think it's more acceptable.
Persecuted or ignored?
It's a little bit of both, I'm sure.
Oh, Mr. Scientist, what you come up with, that's good, but it's very complicated. Like,
and that's. Okay, that's my beef, kind of like with Cosmos and stuff. Like, I love the show. I love that it permeates science out there, gets it into its literacy. But the truth is, science is really complicated. Like, and if you don't speak the language of math, you're fucked, man. Hard.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the thing. Is like, and so there was one statement Feynman made sort of about sort of politics and stuff like that. Like, to be successful in politics, you need to basically give people a definite answer, and you need to look at them and like you're sure, like what you're telling them is actually absolutely true. But that science, like it goes against that.
Yeah.
I mean, because every answer is always sort of qualified, and you have to slowly come to your answer. Like if you look at politicians, they always like say something really quick,
right?
And oftentimes it's like stupid. But if you say it like with enough confidence, it's like sure,
yeah.
And I think Lord Kelvin, he actually had a quote, something like that said, like, if you can't quantify something with a number and units and something, like, you absolutely know nothing, you fucking know nothing about what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that's exactly what I said. You know nothing at all.
Right. And that's kind of my beef. And I think it comes back to the whole Big Bang Theory. Like, sure, maybe we see this influx of brand new physicists, but like Doug said, how long are they going to stay?
Until they get laid.
Yeah,
until they get laid,
then they're there forever. Like, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I want these guys to come in and do well, but if they can't do basic calculus, I mean, how are they going to survive at all? And that's damn near impossible.
I don't know. I know people that don't know calculus that have degrees in physics.
I would love to say I don't, but yeah.
Yeah. So you should know calculus if you are you going to.
Well, you should know far beyond calculus. I mean, let's be real. Like it.
But like there's some people like Faraday who actually had like a very deep physical intuition about how things work, but didn't really know the math that well, right?
I wonder though, in today's age, can you get away with that?
No, actually that's true.
I really don't think you can.
Well, you wouldn't even know Faraday without Maxwell.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, I mean, Faraday, they thought he was absolutely out of his mind because he said that light was an electromagnetic wave. And
it's a particle.
Podcast number 2.
Podcast number 2, the debate of particle versus wave.
That'd be awesome. Particle, wave. And we can do that
This is
for
like 2 hours. Like, the more drunk we get, the more adamant we would be.
Particle, wave. And we do a particle wave. Like,
Yeah. Double slit.
I like the double slit.
You
I know.
should. You should. You should explain so that they don't confuse like double slit with double penetration.
Yeah, that's like...
There's a difference?
Not at all.
All right. Just so I'm aware, double slit means...
Double slit
double-
experiment.
Okay.
Right. Where a wave comes in, one wave comes through 2 small slits and creates a diffraction pattern. Basically a bunch of highs and lows, if you will, on a screen. And the best thing about this, and I think I'll cut to the chase, is if you close the slit, so you have a single slit experiment, you get the same kind of results. And it works the same for electrons. It works the same for waves. It's a very interesting phenomenon. I love the double slit experiment. I think it tells us a lot about the nature of well, just the small that we don't know or don't understand. I absolutely love the double slit experiment. As soon as I learned it, I thought it was amazing.
And apparently Dan loves the double slit experiment.
He does the double slit
for
experiment.
entirely different reasons.
With a double slit, can you still get her pregnant? That is the question that I want to know.
No. The diffraction pattern is not right.
All right, perfect. As long as we had that cleared up.
So I'd actually, it's very difficult to explain, I think, with words. The best you can do is get a visual of it. So if you just Google double slit experiment, you'll see a wave basically.
Be careful, by
Careful.
the way.
Safe search on.
Yeah.
Google double slit experiment and go to images. Take a look. Think of a water wave. If you push down on a body of water that was pretty still and it would create a wave, go through 2 slits, what sort of pattern would you see at some distance away from that? And it'll actually show you what patterns you would see given intensity. It's really cool. So, yes, double slit explained it in like 30 seconds.
Perfect.
Done and done.
Done and done. Now, on to the ether.
Wait, so were we going to talk about the helium?
Oh, we should talk about helium. Because if anyone knows, I'd be very curious. This is something we talked about
So we don't know.
before the
and
podcast.
we're really just too lazy just to go look this up.
We
Because,
absolutely could go look this up.
I mean, Doug, do you know when Madonna was born? What year?
No.
Look it up on the fucking internet.
She's pretty
It's-
old. She's pretty old.
It's pretty old. Pretty old.
But this is something here we're just too lazy to look up, so we're just going to go by like what we know. Okay? And I heard somewhere that it's a natural resource. So helium, we just like tap into the earth, you pull it out just like oil, it's there.
Yeah.
And the United States has a lot of it for some reason.
Yeah.
And I have no reason why.
I have no clue.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only thing I know. So actually, it's a byproduct of actually oil wells or drilling for natural gas or something. And so we pull the helium out of the ground. It's used for many scientific purposes. Helium balloons. Although
That's a scientific purpose. A helium
So
balloon.
birthday parties.
so scientific purpose.
Talk like Mickey
and-
Mouse.
But helium has gotten more expensive recently, and that's because if you use helium and then release it into the atmosphere, it actually goes to the top of the atmosphere. It's very light. It's the second lightest element after hydrogen. But unlike hydrogen, which is very explosive, helium is not, and so better to use than hydrogen in your balloons.
Yes.
Although let me recommend hydrogen.
Not a bad idea.
Hydrogen good to use if you're interested in an exciting time.
Yes. And much more abundant in the universe, by the way.
Yeah, much more. You can get hydrogen from water. Well, hydrogen is locked up in water.
It's true.
Helium is not really locked up with anything because it's a noble gas. But once you use helium, if you release it into the atmosphere, it tends to float to the top and then actually escape into space.
Yeah.
And so then it's gone. And then for some reason, recently helium became like sort of a national security issue, or because basically the helium reserve or the access to helium was being restricted, or
Really?
yeah, and actually it was
Party City.
Party City, yes.
Yeah, the Party City lobbyists went in and said, no, you cannot use the helium for
No doubt.
scientific experiments ever again. We need to have balloons for kids. Right?
Yes.
Done.
You need done and done. But so there was some issue, like you need to somehow conserve the helium that you use.
And you said in scientific experiments now they actually recycle it.
They try to recycle.
So it's some type of closed system when you do an experiment now, and you have to redesign the experiments so you can recycle.
So you can capture the helium that boils off, and then keep it from escaping into the atmosphere, because it's a precious resource.
Yeah, and it can't be easy to capture.
That's and I think that like if you have helium in your system, it's very easy for it to leak out.
Yeah,
of your
that's
system.
kind of the thing.
Yeah.
So I imagine you keep it cold and try to. Well, it liquefies at an extremely cool temperature.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, like liquid helium is used a lot for like superconductors and stuff like that.
Big time.
And so if you have like a system that uses a lot of superconductors, and you need liquid helium to make them superconducting. I am drunk.
All right.
All right. So I guess this is where we should leave off.
Yes.
Ask the Drunk Physicist. We are thoroughly wasted. We have a ton of bottles. Recycling business is going to go up where we are.
Glass, very recyclable.
Yes, the price of glass is going to drop.
Yeah, we should do like a show on that, like green physics, green science, like recycling. Don't pollute stuff.
Now that I have a studio, we can do whatever we want.
So, this is the big thing here. Go to our Twitter. I think it's
The
Drunk Physicist.
Yeah.
Yep, and we'll post this over on YouTube underneath the links on podcast if you can even do that. I have no idea.
Yeah, we can do all that kind of stuff. You can catch us on Twitter at The Drunk Physicist. Catch us on Facebook, The Drunk Physicist, The Drunk Physicist at Gmail. Or Doug, I'm a sexy beast at Gmail also.
Yes.
Awesome.
And, I mean,
you guys did that for me? Set it up.
Yeah, that's right. Are you kidding? We just reactivated your old account.
We also take topless pictures
Yes.
Yes.
The Drunk Physicist.
Chicks only.
Yes. Well, okay,
Well,
so
90% chicks.
yes. If you're ample and a male, we still may take it.
We may take that.
Okay.
Just hit us up. Send us all your scientific questions. We don't really care what it is. It's questions about physics we prefer. Obviously, we're not experts at biology, chemistry, or anything else.
I am.
Because,
Dan
Dennis.
Yeah.
Because those disciplines really aren't very good at all anyways.
Wow.
Doug's only agreed with me.
Really?
He's upset by the lack of fervor with which I say.
Yes.
So with that, we will take off. Any departing words?
There has to be some type of really cool exiting music that we need right now.
Yes.
So just start that up.
Yes. A waltz.
A waltz.
A waltz.